This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, continuously irrigate the wound. So once again, I'll repeat what we should do immediately. First, ensure rescuer safety. Rescuer should be safe. Then rescue the patient and stop the burning process. Then check for other injuries, like major injuries like a head injury or any other injuries. Cool the burn wound with water around minimum around 10 minutes to 1 hour. Irrigate the wound with water temperature is 15 degrees centigrade, so normal tap water. Then give, if there is facility, give oxygen. So that is, give oxygen. Then you start evaluating the victim or the patient. How will you evaluate? Anybody? How will you evaluate this patient?
Rule of 9, sir.
Rule of 9.
No, rule of 9 is fine. That now, see, I told you, any evaluation of any patient or approach to any patient. Just last
Airway
class I told you,
breathing,
airway, breathing,
circulation,
environment.
deformity.
So not economy, it is environment and exposure of the wound, not economy, please. It is environment. Sufficient. Patient should be in a environment should be ideal. We can it should not be either too cold or too hot while resuscitating. That is environment. And exposure, that is patient should be thoroughly exposed. Take away all the garments, check whether there are any other injuries, then you can put on a hospital gown or anything else. So that is E for exposure, E for exposure and environment. So first is airway, then breathing, circulation, then D for disability. Please, any patient acute, this thing coming to casualty or emergency department, approach is the same. So in this way, if you go, okay, additionally, according, this is the thermal injury. So next we'll add, while resuscitating, particular to this type of injury, thermal injury, we will add our points. So, or like head injury, hypoglycemia, any unconscious patient, any patient, acute illness, should be dealt in the same airway, breathing, circulation, disability, exposure, and environment. Then F for fluids. So this is the protocol. So for if you write this, you will get straight away. They'll know that how to resuscitate. So this will get you more marks, not just for more marks. You should cultivate this type of approach, because this is how we are going to deal with any kind of acute illness or emergency patient. So first, airway, patient is alert and talking. So you can assume that it is, airway is not at risk now. So, but it does not mean that you are not going to check the airway. You should check the airway, especially in case of burns. Why you should check the airway?
Any inhalational
Airway may
burn.
be formed later, at a later stage. So how will you check? Check if the nasal hair is burned, there is erythema on the space, nose, airway. Then there is sooth, SOOTH, that black material that is there in the nasal nose and in the throat and all. So burnt nasal hairs, then soot inside the nasal and oral cavities. So all of this will tell that airway is going to be compromised or in trouble at later stage if we do not watch out. If you think that there is sufficient, that even though the patient is alert for now, if you think that there is some damage to airway, it is better to sedate the patient and intubate. Awake patients, you cannot put an endotracheal tube. I already told you. Awake and alert patient. If you put an airway, like if I put some, if I take a tube and put in your throat, then you'll have gag reflex, all that. So you need to sedate the patient, and then or paralyze using succinylcholine, then put in an ET tube. So if you think that the airway is going to be compromised because you have seen that inside there is some damage, like burning is there, burning of nasal hair, burning of mucosa in both nasal and oral cavity. Later, there will be laryngeal edema. Please note down, there will be laryngeal edema. Then that will become very difficult. Then at the time you want to intubate, then it will be very difficult. You cannot even push the ET tube inside, you cannot even intubate the patient. So anticipate before itself, even though the patient is alert and fine, check the airways, check the airway. So there is no, especially this is called inhalation burns. The patient has, okay, you're seen at that area, there is a lot of smoke. Write down inhalation burns. Inhalation burns. So inhalation burns is very dangerous. So smoke and all this vapor, everything is there. Smoke, vapor, steam, all this there. So the patient has inhaled. So both the airway, oral cavity, everything will become edematous later. So inhalation burns. So do an elective intubation. So that way airway is not compromised. So there, what all will happen? Laryngeal edema will be there. That is for definite. Write down laryngeal edema. Then okay, the other things that can compromise the airway are loss of respiratory epithelium. There will be damage to mucosa, respiratory epithelium. Then chemical alveolitis, then respiratory failure, and carbon monoxide, if it is there, carbon monoxide. So metabolic poisoning can occur, that is acidosis and all this, as ABG disorders. So then if the chest is burnt, then chest, so then chest is burnt, there'll be a mechanical block to rib movements, take air inside and to leave, there will be difficulty. So in those cases we have to intubate and ventilate. So here one thing about carbon monoxide I'll tell you, carbon monoxide poisoning. So mostly carbon dioxide only will be there, mostly. So only in certain type of very closed enclosures, then you can suspect carbon monoxide poisoning. Like the whole this room entirety is closed and some specific thing is burning, then you can expect carbon monoxide. What is the what is the difference Why carbon monoxide we should pay a little more attention? Anybody? Anybody? Carbon monoxide has more affinity to hemoglobin. Please note down this point. Carbon monoxide has more affinity to hemoglobin, 10 times more than oxygen. You know, oxygen, okay, will bind with hemoglobin, but carbon monoxide has more affinity, 10 times more. And you know, with carbon monoxide, solely carbon monoxide poisoning, there may not be cyanosis, and patient sometimes will turn more pink, so it will be very difficult to suspect just carbon monoxide poisoning. And you have to give more oxygen, high flow oxygen, much more than normal you have to give to drive out the carbon monoxide. So these points you should keep in mind. Okay, carbon monoxide is little rare than carbon dioxide, which is more common. But what you have to keep in mind is with carbon monoxide poisoning is cyanosis will be less, patient will turn more pink, and you know, the affinity of carbon monoxide to hemoglobin is more, so you will require more oxygen to be given to the patient to drive out this carbon monoxide out. So all these things should be there. So okay, you follow airway, then breathing, then okay, patient is intubated, or you know, you're giving oxygen via a mask. So patient, you know, there is no inhalation injury, but okay, so just make sure, check the breathing, check bilateral air entry is equal or not. That is how breathing is checked. And you can also use pulse oximetry and all this. So bilateral air entry is equal or not. Okay, check that. Then circulation, you know, burns will cause loss of lot of fluid. So put in wide bore to get wide bore cannulas. Then put the cannulas and start fluids like ringer lactate, crystalloids you can start initially. So in case the patient is burnt so much, you know, sometimes it will be difficult to cannulate. So what is this? Great Cephas vein. When the patient is brought to hospital, you know, great Cephas vein, it is cannulated. This procedure is called venous cut down. You know, you need, at this stage you need not know the entire procedure, just know venous cut down procedure is adapted to cannulate the vein, and then introduction of the fluids. So that is how fluids, circulation. Okay, then next, so how do you know circulation is adequate? How do you know circulation is adequate? Last class I had told you. I hope you are reading.
Urine output.
Yes, very good. Very good. Very good. Urine output, check. 0. It should be greater than 1 ml per kg body weight. Lower limit is 0.5. But please do not write 0.5 is the, you know, mark or something. Standard is 1 ml per kg body weight. You know, in certain cases we need to achieve greater than 2 ml, which cases I'll tell you later. Okay, but ideally now patient is perfused means then tachycardia will come down, hypotension is reversed. Patient is not that hypotensive anymore. Then heart rate will, tachycardia will subside, and urine output will improve. And Ryle's tube and urine output, you'll put in a Foley's catheter. Put in a Foley's catheter, and then we'll assess the urine output. And now assessment of the burn wound. Assessment of the burn wound. Use rule of 9. Rule of 9. So latest Bayesian law, that is 9 for the arm, 9 for one arm, 9 for another arm. Then for chest, 9. Then abdomen 9. Lower limbs, thigh 9, and legs 9, like that. And genitalia, it's only 1%. So like that, approximately rule of 9. Rule of 9, you can draw the diagram. It is there. So, but latest, some of this textbook, even latest Bayesian law is not recommend. Okay, rule of 9, you can use it for quick assessment, and then quick assessment of the wound, and then starting fluid therapy. But in hospital, there will be definitive charts will be there. London Browder charts. So that is one example. Even for pediatrics, there are definite charts, and these charts are displayed. These charts are displayed in every major emergency room. So according to that, you can just calculate. So if nothing is available, then rule of 9 is fine to evaluate the wound and then start the fluid therapy. So, and let's come to the the wounds actually. So they are divided into superficial partial thickness, then deep partial thickness, full thickness. Just like skin grafting, full thickness means you have gone up to dermis. For epidermis, all the layers are gone, then dermis is gone. Okay, you have gone in beyond the dermis. You have gone into the subcutaneous fat. So subcutaneous fat and beyond, that is full thickness. So superficial partial thickness is epidermis is gone. You can describe this. Initially, it will be that black material will be there. Then you gently wash it. Then there'll be a pink wound. Then pinprick sensation will be there. Then only epidermis and part of dermis is destroyed in superficial partial thickness wound. So patient will still have pain and all this sensation will be there. So deep partial thickness, epidermis is gone, then it will go a little deeper into the both layers of dermis. It will not enter, fully dermis is not gone. So deep partial thickness. So superficial will heal. Superficial will heal without scarring. So there won't be any scarring. Superficial partial thickness, superficial wound. So deep partial, there will be some amount of scarring will be there. So full thickness, almost everything is, whole skin is gone. So full thickness, nerve endings are burned. So our nerve endings, the ends of the nerves are burned. So it may not be that it's not very much painful if it is a total full thickness wound. So, but this is not a hard and fast rule for for the whole body. Just assess. Certain areas you will have superficial wound, certain areas deep, and then certain areas you'll have full thickness. So this you have to assess. This is called mixed thickness burns. Suppose patient back is towards the fire, then that is more burnt than the front region. So there will be variation in the degree of burns. So you please remember this: superficial partial thickness burns, deep partial thickness burns, and full thickness burns. You get it? Or you remember superficial, deep, and full thickness. Superficial partial thickness, then deep partial thickness, or and full thickness. So superficial, deep, and full thickness. So this is how you remember. Most often this is, not, patient is not having just superficial and deep or something like that. It is mixed pattern. Mixed pattern will be there. It is for us to assess which area is burnt, how much. So either the superficial wound, superficial burnt wound, or deep or full thickness. So uh, you remember this formula which I am going to tell you. It is called Parkland formula. Park, park, recreation park, like that. PARKLAND, Parkland formula. So mostly ringer lactate is used to resuscitate. So burnt surface area, percentage of burnt surface area. So afterwards you have assessed this is 40% burns or 50% burns, percentage of burnt surface area into weight of the patient. Patient weight is 70 kgs or something. So 40% burns into 70 into 4 is equal to the total ml of volume. So suppose 40% burns, 70 kgs man into 4. How much is it total? 40 into 70 into 4.
1160.
Okay, the total volume, half of it will go in the first 8 hours, and next half will go into in the 16 hours. We are using ringer lactate, crystalloid ringer lactate for resuscitation. So percentage of burns into weight of the patient into 4, that volume, that ml, that total ml. So you divide it into half. First half in 8 hours, first half in 8 hours, next half in 16 hours. So please remember this point. First half in first 8 hours, I told you, 8 hours means from 0 hour the patient got burned. From that time you count the time. Patient got burnt, suppose, so patient got burnt at 10 a.m. From there you start 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2, all 4 hours is over. Another 4 hours. So now the patient has come. So the first half should go within the 8 hours. So give the ringer lactate, and the next half should go in the next 16 hours. So first 8 hours means from the time of burns, not from the time of arrival at the hospital. Do not count like that. That is bad practice. I mean, don't count like that. Ask when the burning has, what time the patient got burned. So start calculating from that time. Understood? So first
Yes,
8
sir.
hours means the patient, from 0 hour, from when the burning started, not when the patient So already one day has passed, patient has come now. So there is no point, still okay. You put in a Foley's catheter, then assess the urine output and then check for all these, 8 hours and 16 hours, beyond that, 1.5 days passed means somewhere the patient has been resuscitated. We don't know how much fluid he has received. So all that, okay. So now fresh case of burns coming straight from the area of accident, then first 8 hours, then next 16 hours. Please remember, first 8 hours, next 16 hours. This is ringer lactate crystalloid. So you can use colloids like hetastarch, hydroxyethyl, hetastarch, then what is, plasma, different types of plasma expanders. So, uh, so for these, there is another formula. You just remember the name of it, Newer and Barclay. Newer and Barclay formula for colloids. So, and again, there is one more formula. If you are going to use just albumin to resuscitate, that it is more commonly used in some countries like Japan and all. But albumin is very expensive, and we don't usually use just albumin to resuscitate the patient, you know. So, and for using other fluids in combination, DNS, dextrose normal saline in combination with the ringer lactate. So different formulas are there. So ringer lactate is most commonly available, and it is very easy to, you remember this formula and you can resuscitate. So percentage of burn surface area into weight into 4, that you divide in first 8 hours and next 16 hours, and then check for the urine output. So pulse, BP, blood pressure, and then urine output. Then once the patient is stable, once you have followed airway breathing circulation, then ABC disability, check any disabilities are there, that patient has fallen down, any, now any other injury is there, now patient is disabled, unable to move, arm and limbs, or check for disability. Then exposure, I told you, patient should be ideally, when you are resuscitating, the room temperature, it should be, air conditioned, and the temperature should be ideal, neither too hot nor too cold. Then expose the patient and then check any other areas are there which you should not miss out. So when you are calculating the percentage of the burns itself, just check the whole body, with, you cannot miss out backs or lower back and all that. So thorough exposure in an ideal environment, then assess how much the patient has been burned, and then resuscitate the patient, and give oxygen, in, suppose GCS is bad, again I'm telling, GCS is very important, Glasgow Coma Scale, in any case, not just head injuries, just any seriously ill patient. GCS is simple and reliable tool to assess the condition of the patient. So there are other, for pancreatitis and for other conditions in intensive care units, Apache 2's, Apache 2 is Roman numericals 2. So Apache 2 score, and there are so many other different scores are there. which are used to evaluate the condition of the patient. But most basic and most reliable one is Glasgow Coma Scale. Please don't forget that. Mod 15 out of 15 is very good. 15 out of 15 is very good. You know, around 13, okay, 11 and all is, the bad. 8 and all requires 8 and all, 8 out of 15 means the patient is not doing well, is probably unconscious, needs to be intubated and ventilated. So GCS, here motor, I told you GCS 3 components, motor is 6. Always remember the motor activity you have to do. So that will have more. So that is 6. Then verbal is 5. Then eye opening is 4. So spontaneous eye opening is 4, like that. So, and spontaneous activity is 6, motor. So like that, 6, 5, 4. GCS is very reliable and simple. So do GCS examination, Then after that, now we'll come to dressings. Now the burn, you resuscitate the patient. Now you have to dress the uh, burn surface area. So what will you use? Silver sulfadiazine. So silver sulfadiazine ointment is most commonly used. Silver sulfadiazine. So these ointments are available everywhere, and this is the most common, dressing ointment that is used to dress the burnt, burnt surface. So next there are silver nitrate solution is there, then mefenide acetate is there, sucralfate is also used. Sucralfate is also used for dressing of the burns, but most commonly silver sulfadiazine is used. So once you apply these ointments, then on top of that you can apply this cotton wool is applied, so that the wound does not get infected. So depending upon so if it is just superficial wound, you can just use apply the ointment, you can leave it like that. Deeper wounds require you put a cotton wool. So you can also put a Vaseline gauze. You can put the Vaseline gauze, apply the ointment. So next time when you're removing the cotton wool, it does not peel away and then cause severe pain and all that. So Vaseline gauze, if you have applied, or Vaseline gauze, sometimes they're impregnated with these ointments. So, or just plain paraffin gauze is there. You apply that, put the ointment. So next time when you remove the dressing, it won't be painful. So it won't get dried off, and when you try to pull, then it won't be painful and all that. So silver sulfadiazine ointment, Vaseline gauze impregnated with ointments, and or just plain Vaseline gauze with what is this, with ointment, silver sulfadiazine ointment. So if not much area is burnt, not patient condition is stable, then you can use collagen sheets. Write down collagen sheets for uh, partial thickness, around partial thickness to uh, mix it thickness, not full thickness. Collagen sheets, not full thickness, and a limited surface area. So what happens is, once collagen sheets, this is artificial collagen sheets, this will be in some solution. You have to wash it with normal saline and spread the sheet over the burnt surface area, and there should be no air bubbles beneath. So that air bubbles are there, that means you have not applied it properly, then it will get lifted later. So just apply it so that it adheres. So as the new skin forms to uh, new skin develops from within, this collagen sheet will get lifted off and it will come off by itself on 7th or 8th days, depending upon thickness of the burnt surface area. Collagen sheets, you can use them. Then you can also mention, uh, this is little rare. Only certain centers use live cultured fibroblasts or cultured keratinocytes, live cultured fibroblasts, cultured keratinocytes. Just read this. These are sometimes used. You know. Okay. Then uh, then first day, second day, the patient is all right. Then the burnt wound starts to get dry and contract. This is called Eschar. So Eschar, ESCHAR, Eschar. So if there is 80% burns, 90% burns like that, then the whole body Eschars will form. So you have to remove the Eschars, so that Escherotomy it is called, or just put a tangential cuts along, so that the Eschar gets disrupted and movement, like respiration and is not compromised. So this is called Escherotomy. So when the burn wound develops into an Escherotomy, ECHEAR, Escherotomy is done. You just mentioned that. That is more than enough. Okay. So so along with this, care of the burn. First is first I've told you uh, how to rescue the patient. Then after once rescuing, what happens? Airway, breathing, circulation, all this. This is how we resuscitation is done. Airway, breathing, circulation, disability, exposure, all this. So patient is stable, pulse, all these parameters for like pulse, BP, oxygen saturation, temperature, respiratory rate, they're okay. Urine output, they're good. Then okay. Then Eschar has developed, then you do Escherotomy. These dressings I told you. Then collagen can be applied in certain cases. Then the other things that need to be taken care of. Other things that need to be taken care of, please write down in points. First is resuscitation, I told you. I mean, first is rescue the patient. Then you resuscitate the patient using A, B, C, D, E. Then okay, care of the wound. Immediately care of the wound. Then you wash the wound with normal saline and then apply either Vaseline gauze with silver sulfur diazide. Then okay. Next important point is analgesia. Analgesia. So you have to give either injectables, pain, if proper analgesia is not there, then again proper, patient will not take proper ventilation. I mean, respiration is not there. Then so all this will lead to lung infections and all these pneumonias. So analgesia is important. You give pain relief, either uh, orally or IM injections you can give. So or morphine sometimes is given. Okay, IV. So then next is energy balance and nutrition. Next is energy balance and nutrition. So right from the 6 hour. So if the around, mouth, everything is burnt, then if it is possible, try oral feeding or TPN, total parental nutrition. If the percentage of burns is high, then total parental nutrition, TPN. So everything, all these amino acids, lipids, and this calories. So everything is given uh, via central vein, So mostly this TPN. So if the patient is able to take gut through the orally, then you should use formulas to feed the patient. So formulas are Sutherland formula. There is many 4 or 5 dietitian formulas are there. So uh, each hospital has a dietitian. So get the dietitian, then calculate the amount that is required. Proteins, carbohydrates, amino acids. Then amino acids, proteins. So carbohydrates and fats. Okay, according to that you can give, or roughly you can calculate by yourself. So how much do we need? How many calories per day do we need?
20
Anybody?
20 kilocalories per kg.
Okay, that is how much per day? Around
1800.
1200. 800? No, around 1200, 1500. We are okay, moderate working. We are working moderately. We are not sessile, just people who are work manual laborers and all will require little more. So they'll require around 2500, 3000, because they are doing lot of manual labor. So we will require around 1200 to 1500 kilocalories. So whenever there is trauma or this thing, so the intake is almost doubled. So especially proteins, but we should be very careful in administering. So I'll tell you later. In encephalopathy patients, you cannot give straight away give complex proteins. You have to give simplest proteins like amino acids. That will deal later. But you know, uh, usually like protein and all is now demand is doubled. So more than regular this thing. So uh, patient will need a little more protein. So a dietitian is there, different formulas, 4, 5, 6 formulas are there. So whatever is suitable for the patient, it is ideal. If there is no dietitian, you use your discretion, uh, look up a chart, or I told the demands are double. So according to that, you give in divided dosage. Patient is taking orally, fine. Otherwise, put a nasogastric tube. Gut is functioning always. Remember this. Gut is functioning. It is advisable to use the gut. So, uh, nasogastric feeds we can give. Through the nasogastric tube we can give the feeds. So, parenteral only if it is recommended, like 80% burn, 90% burn. Straight away now, one point I'll tell you. Please remember this. One very important point I am going to tell you. Please remember this. Mortality is very high if it exceeds 45 to 50% burns. Greater than 50% burns, mortality is high. Or 45% with inhalation burns, mortality is high. Please remember this point. Greater than 50, 60, okay, this is very bad, okay. Or 45, 50 with inhalation burns, patient has inhaled smoke. So what will happen eventually if you are not taken care of, or there can be ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome can be there, and patient, pneumonia and all this. So mortality is high, greater than 50% or 45% with inhalation burn. Please remember this point. So this is very important. So no need to tell like 80% burns, 90% burns. Mortality is very high, but that does not mean that we are going to compromise on treatment. You cannot think, okay, this is 85-90% burn, patient is going to eventually expire. So no, so we are not going to compromise on the quality of care that is given to the patient. So this is I'm telling you this, greater than 50%. If the patient survives 50 to 60%, if the patient survives, well and good, that is good for us. Okay, 45% inhalation burns, all these are high risk. Beyond that is high risk. So beyond that is high risk. Why we should know the prognosis? Because you cannot promise to the attenders 80%, 90%, or even 75-80% patient is going to do well. Just because the patient is alert now, patient is going to do well. So we are not going to give that kind of prognosis. Go outside and tell, okay, a patient for now patient is stable. With that kind of burns, slowly secondary infection can be there. So many other mortality rate is high, so we cannot. And daily prognosis we explain to the attenders based on the daily vital signs only. Do you understand? So that is the importance for the prognosis. Okay, greater than 50% mortality rate increases. So for 10 minutes. So analgesia I told you. Then energy balance, that is total amount of energy, calorie expense. Then nutrition, all, whenever you are giving nutrition, do not forget trace elements, micronutrients and trace elements, all these copper, manganese, magnesium, everything, all these trace elements, there is a special TPN. So these also are very essential for wound healing. So these needs to be vitamin, minerals, all these things needs to be given. So then nursing care. Nursing care is what? Patient should not be lying in one same position. So and prophylaxis for DVT, all this. So prophylaxis for DVT, use low molecular heparin, low molecular weight heparin, or pressure garments, something you use. So most often what happens, if the patient is immobilized like that without any physiotherapy, physiotherapy is must. So all the major hospitals will have physiotherapists. This is the important. Okay, do you have one more meeting? Class rep?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When? I will
3
finish
to 4,
in
sir.
5. Hello? 3 to 4. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I will finish in 5 minutes. I will finish in 5 minutes. So physiotherapy is very important. Patient should be ambulant so that DVT is avoided. So most often, 10th day, 15th day, patient is doing well. Suddenly there is a patient collapses. So what, or patient is lying on the bed and suddenly there is some deterioration in vital signs. So what happened? This is DVT. So DVT. So prophylaxis against DVT we should take care. And psychological support, all these things. Okay. So this is, so in an order you please write. First you rescue the patient, then you resuscitate the patient, then you use that formula of 9, and rule of 9 is just for this, textbooks are saying previously we used to use the rule of 9 only. Now appropriate charts are there. Charts are London Browder charts are there in the casualty and everywhere. So use the chart and assess. Otherwise, rule of 9 you can use. Then start the airway breathing circulation and start the fluids and care of the wound. I told you. Then dressings I told you. Then asherotomy I told you. Then analgesia should be given. Nutrition, either total parental nutrition or enteral nutrition you have to give, calculate and give. Then nursing care, physiotherapy, so all of these, and anti-DVT measures, so all of these should be given to the patient. So one more thing, I'll two points I'll tell about electrical burns and stop. This is most often asked as 4 marks question. So electrical burns, high voltage or low voltage, we should know. Just ask if the patient is awake, ask the patient or the attendant. So how it has happened, and whether there is any other fall, head injury is there. Then evaluate again, ABCDE, evaluate. And here, while you are looking for the wounds, electrical wounds, write down all of you, entry wound and exit wound. Entry wound and exit wound. That is where the suppose electricity is entering here and it is exiting via this arm. So so if it is passing through the conduction, through the heart, axis is like this, through the heart, then there will be conduction abnormalities. You should always get an ECG. So 1 point, entry and exit wounds, note down where they are. And the axis is going towards the heart. Even otherwise, myocardium can be depressed due to electricity. So, and get an ECG and okay, continuous ECG monitoring is there. So okay, get a continuous ECG monitoring. Rule out arrhythmias and conduction abnormalities. So patient is in normal rhythm, fine. Okay. Then also check urine for myoglobin. Third important point, urine for myoglobin. Myoglobinuria. This will lead to acute renal failure, acute renal shutdown, and then deterioration of the patient. So to prevent myoglobinuria, you need high urine output. So 1 ml per kg body weight here, if you suspect myoglobinuria, so aim at 2 ml per kg body weight per hour. So increase, give more fluids, adjust the rate. Okay. So according to that, give the more fluids, aim for urine output 2 ml per kg body weight. So entry and exit points, ECG to rule out conduction abnormalities. Then send the urine for myoglobin. Meanwhile, aim for higher urine output. So 2 ml per kg body weight per hour. So this is about okay, 3 o'clock you have class, fine. This is about electrical burns. So any more points are there? I'll cover almost I've covered everything. Just please go back and read. So that's about it. So it's going to be 3. You have next another class. So any point, anything you want, you please ask me. Class rep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please give the attendance to the department clerk. So I finished burns, and I told you the headings, important headings, how to evaluate the patient and write your essay question on. So thank you. We'll meet in the next class. Any doubts, please don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to ask. Write down and you can ask me or send. You can send it through WhatsApp or ask through the class rep. So I will clear your doubts. So One by one, we'll finish off all these topics before the exam. Thank you.